Hello and welcome to this screencast. In this screencast we'll go over better code sending through the use of FIFO. Previously we went over different ways one can send code to the underlying REPL. However, with either approach there is one glaring flaw: a 4096 character limit on the send command. I stumbled upon this while developing nested functions in a Lisp. I think it was common Lisp, but it could have been Clojure. I noticed that if my clipboard was higher than 4096 characters, it would send an extra line and flush the input. This completely broke development on functions that have higher than 4096 characters. Here I'm referencing how you have in some functions, like say define hello world. If you have indentation like so, that indentation counts as extra characters. That being said, there is a way to deal with this elegantly. I should add that even though the previous ways of sending code worked, they were verbose and essentially added that code to the REPL buffer again. So what I mean by that, if I go open WinCat here, like so, and I want to send this to the WinCat using the previous script we wrote in the previous video, we can see that it puts it into the terminal, and then because it's being read by cat, it outputs it again. And what this equals to is if I was running a REPL, for example sbcl, like so, if I send it here, actually let's send the main.lisp file. That would be easier to send. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, okay, now it works. I was middle clicking in the wrong place. So we can see that it copies this as is and it pastes it onto the Win terminal. And so this is okay for small functions. But if you had bigger functions, it would become a problem very easily. And although I don't have any code examples, I'm sure that if any programmer uses this workflow, they will notice that the functions get repetitive very, very fast. And if we redefine stuff, like for example, new hello world for, and then we try to look up hello world like so, you'll have two places that we can look to. Overall, it's just it's a doable approach, but it can be improved and it should be improved. Some might dislike verboseness. The good thing is that this FIFO approach implicitly sends the code to the REPL without printing it, which means that the body of the REPL does not get littered with functions being defined again, like so. This approach is also faster. Now faster in terms of the input, because to send using the acme command, I think there is a sleep functionality that sleeps every line or so, every 4096 character or so. So FIFO, first in, first out. The basic idea of FIFO is that there is a queue, and whenever the process tries to get data, the first input that was given is the first one that is read. For example, if there was a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, whenever the user wants a value from the list, it will get the first one, which is number 1, and then the next one will be 2, and so on. We use this approach to send the selected lines in the current buffer. The underlying process is started using Win, but the input comes from that FIFO. Luckily, FIFO is available as a file socket in Linux and can be created using the mkFIFO command. To illustrate, let's use cat to read from a FIFO socket. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very simple FIFO socket. So I'm going to do mkFIFO cat.FIFO. Very simple. I'm going to do cat.FIFO. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do echo hello world to cat.FIFO. And if I middle click this, it's going to open a new window temp plus errors, and then it's going to say hello world, like so. Note, FIFO can be rather complicated to work with. Therefore, remember the following rule whenever you're dealing with FIFO. Read the FIFO first before you write to it. If you write to it before you read from it, the process will exit whenever the first line is submitted. Now, although this process exited when it was submitted, when hello world was submitted, even though it read before that, other processes like say SBCL or any other node REPLs or anything ran under win wouldn't. So that was accidental. Connecting it all together. Let's write two scripts, one that uses FIFO under the hood to send the data to the REPL, and another one to merge the input from standard input and FIFO together, and to start a win shell with those inputs merged. Although this was a mouthful, it's very easy to separate these two. So the first script sends selected data into FIFO. Second script reads from standard input and from FIFO and prints and sends both, or let's say, and redirects both inputs into one. So for this we have to write two scripts, and the way to do them is very easy. Let's just go to the local bin directory of this current user. And let's make two scripts. Now this one is pretty easy to do. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create an ID, and that ID is gonna be through the pwgen command. And just for reference, if I run this, it gives me a random ID, and then I'm gonna do FIFO, and the FIFO would be the file name of the FIFO. So it's gonna be something like this. Just for reference, let's run. So now if I do middle click, okay, good. Then what it's gonna do is gonna do mkFIFO here, like so. And then it's gonna do echo FIFO is at here, like so. And then it's gonna run the current process in the background, and then cat standard input into FIFO, and then wait, and then kill the remove the FIFO file. So what this should do, if I use it with FIFO with win, is it's gonna and with cat, it's gonna launch cat in the background, and whenever I type something into cat, cat will respond with the thing that I typed. But if I echo into the FIFO file, what it should do is output the output into the cat process. So let's check. Now this can be tricky, so we might have to do it with several trials. Hello world 2, it works. Now if I do echo hello from FIFO, it works as intended. If I do it again, it works as intended. So this is very simple. Now let's create the acme FIFO send, and this one is simpler than the previous script even. First we want to check if the win ID is set, if it's empty. If it's empty, just exit. And then what we want to do is 9p read from acme win ID RDSEL to the first parameter, which is going to be the FIFO file. So what we want to do is stat that file and check if it's actually existing. If it does not exist, then we want to say to exit, and then read the selection of the current window and then put that into the file, the FIFO file. So if I do acme FIFO send, if I close the SBCL, I'm going to use the SBCL to write this, so to test this out, sorry. So if I do FIFO win, and then okay, this is interesting. So it exits for SBCL. Oh, actually, it didn't launch SBCL. That was a mistake from my part. If I do SBCL, then I do this, it gives me that, and then I could do acme FIFO send, and then what this should do is it should send this command to this FIFO issue. Now notice how nothing appeared, but if I do enter, it will define it. Now the reason this happens, and this is a bug with Win, is that Win does not input anything that you have. Instead, what Win does is it waits for the new line and then it would flush the input. So what we should also do is echo an empty line to the FIFO file, like so. And also we should make this silent so that it only exists with one. So if I do something like this, it doesn't input anything. Yeah, so now it works. Now if I do something like ASDF, it exits with one because it cannot stat that file. And I want to make it silent now. Okay, it's silent now, which is good. But if I make it FIFO, it works as intended. Now, although the script might seem simple, one of the biggest hurdles creating this screencast and the previous one that involved using win and send and snarf and creating the acme win send acme send win script was this FIFO issue. I kept stumbling upon the issue where I would use the acme FIFO win script and writing before I read, and that's very bad. What you should always do is read before you write. That way the process hangs and wait for the next input. And then even if you input something from the outside, it's still send it. Now, fun fact, you could also use this, the acme -send-win, the previous script we made in the previous screencast, with this one, and it would send as it would work as intended. So this does not break the standard input, which is super duper nice. Anyway, this is a very short screencast, but I think it's very useful. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.